Airbnbs promise comfort and safety, but behind some of those doors, something else is waiting. Story 1. The Airbnb, a renovated barn deep in the Pennsylvania countryside, seemed perfect online. The photos showed exposed beams, a clawfoot tub, and a king-sized bed dwarfed by a cathedral ceiling. The host, a woman named Greta, had 5-star reviews, though her replies were always a single terse sentence. The key is under the mat. Enjoy your stay. When I arrived, the silence was the first thing I noticed. Not peaceful, but heavy, pressing in from the surrounding cornfields. Inside, the barn was exactly as advertised, but cold. An unnatural, deep-seated chill clung to the air despite the humming thermostat. That night, the noises started. A soft, rhythmic thump from the floor below. I tried to dismiss it as the house settling or a water pipe, but the sound was too deliberate. Thump, thump, thump. It was like someone methodically tapping a broom handle against the ceiling from a locked basement I hadn't been given access to. I texted Greta. Hours later, her reply came. Old building. The next day, I found the scratches. They were on the inside of the heavy oak door leading to the bedroom loft. They were thin and deep, splintering the wood near the lock. They didn't look like they were made by an animal. They looked like frantic fingernail marks. A growing unease settled in my stomach. I felt watched, catching fleeting shadows in my peripheral vision as I moved through the vast, open space. That evening, I decided to cook, hoping the simple task would calm my nerves. As I opened a cupboard for a plate, I saw it. Taped to the back wall of the cabinet, almost hidden behind a stack of bowls, was a small, laminated photograph. It was a Polaroid of a young man, smiling nervously. Scrawled underneath in messy black marker were 2 words. Guest number 14. My blood ran cold. I frantically opened the other cupboards. In the one above the sink, behind the coffee mugs. Guest number 17. A photo of a woman laughing. In the pantry, behind a bag of flour. Guest number 21. A couple holding hands. The thumping from below started again, faster this time. Thump, 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 thump. My phone buzzed on the counter. It was a new message from Greta. My heart seized as I read the 2 words she had sent. You're number 23. Story 2. The Airbnb was a secluded cabin, exactly what I'd wanted. The listing photos showed a rustic, cozy interior, and the host, Ilara, had 5-star reviews for being helpful yet unobtrusive. We communicated only through the app. She'd left the key under a ceramic gnome by the door. The first night, an unsettling quiet pressed in from the surrounding woods. The only sound was the hum of the refrigerator. Then, around 2 a.m., I heard it. A faint scratching sound. It seemed to come from inside the walls of the bedroom closet. Rats, I thought, pulling the pillow over my head. An old cabin is bound to have critters. The next day, I explored. The cabin was clean, almost sterile, with a cloying scent of pine cleaner. In the living room, a large taxidermy deer head was mounted above the fireplace, its glass eyes seeming to follow my every move. I hated it. While putting my suitcase in the bedroom closet, I noticed something odd. The back wall wasn't flush. Pushing against it, I felt a slight give. Running my hand along the wood paneling, my fingers found the outline of a small, narrow door, painted over to blend in. There was no handle, no knob, just a keyhole plugged with hardened putty. My blood ran cold. It wasn't on the listing. That night, the scratching returned. It was louder, more frantic. Scritch, scrape, scritch. It wasn't the sound of an animal. It was rhythmic, desperate. It sounded like fingernails on wood. My heart hammered against my ribs. I stared at the closet, imagining what could possibly be on the other side of that hidden door. My phone buzzed. A message from Ilara. Hope you're enjoying the peace and quiet. Let me know if you need anything at all. The cheerful message felt like a threat. I didn't reply. The scratching stopped, abruptly, as if it had heard the phone. Silence descended again, heavier and more menacing than before. My eyes darted to the deer head in the living room. In the dim light from the window, I could have sworn one of its glassy eyes glinted, catching a reflection that wasn't there. I spent the rest of the night huddled in a chair, facing the closet, a fireplace poker clutched in my hands. The next morning, I packed my bags in a frenzy. As I was about to leave, my morbid curiosity got the better of me. I went back to the closet and scraped at the putty in the keyhole with my car key. It flaked away, revealing a dark hole. I leaned in, pressing my eye to the opening. At first, all I saw was darkness. Then, my vision adjusted. I wasn't looking into a hidden room. I was looking into the hollowed-out back of the deer head's mount. And through its left eye, I had a perfect panoramic view of the entire living room and the front door. The scratching hadn't been from inside the wall. It had been a warning, carved into the wood right beside the peephole. Barely legible, the frantic letters spelled out, "She never leaves." Story 3. The cabin looked like a postcard, a rustic little A-frame tucked deep in the Oregon woods. The listing promised digital detox and total seclusion, which was exactly what I needed. The host, a woman named Eliza, was entirely virtual. She'd sent the lockbox code and a list of instructions via the app, her messages punctuated with cheerful smiley faces. The first night was unnerving in its silence. No city hum, just the sighing of wind through pines. That's when I heard the first noise. A soft, rhythmic tap-tap-tapping from beneath the floorboards of the bedroom. I told myself it was just the house settling, or maybe a woodpecker getting an early start. The next day, I noticed small things were off. The book I'd left face down on the nightstand was closed. The decorative antlers above the fireplace seemed angled slightly differently. I felt a persistent prickling sensation on the back of my neck, the kind you get when you think you're being watched. I texted Eliza, asking if she'd sent a cleaner by. Her reply came hours later. "Nope, just you and the trees. Enjoy the peace." That night, the tapping returned, louder and more insistent. It wasn't random. It was a pattern. Tap, tap, tap. Pause. Tap, tap, tap. I followed the sound to a small, unassuming door in the main living area, one I'd assumed was a utility closet. It was locked. Pressing my ear to the cold wood, I heard it clearly now, coming from the other side. And something else. A faint, dry whisper, like leaves skittering across pavement. My unease curdled into genuine fear. I frantically searched the kitchen for a key, finding nothing. In the junk drawer, however, was a slim metal skewer. My hands trembled as I worked it into the old-fashioned lock. After a tense minute, there was a satisfying click. I swung the door open, expecting a basement. Instead, I found a narrow, steep staircase descending into pitch blackness. A damp, earthy smell rolled out. My phone's flashlight cut a weak beam through the dark, revealing walls of rough, unfinished stone. At the bottom of the stairs was another room. The beam landed on a small, pale face, its eyes wide and hollow. I gasped, stumbling back, before realizing it was a doll, propped in a tiny wooden chair. Then I saw the others, dozens of them, in varying states of decay, all sitting in chairs, all facing the staircase, all facing me. My light swept across them, their painted eyes seeming to follow my every move. Taped to the chest of each doll was a small laminated photo, a candid shot of a person sleeping. A man, a woman, a young couple. They were all guests. My blood ran cold when my light found an empty chair in the front row. Taped to its back was a nameplate, freshly printed. It read, "Our newest friend." That's when I heard the front door of the cabin creak open upstairs. A soft voice, not cheerful anymore, called down into the dark. "Did you find your welcome party?"